I have to do something different because me pretending to be someone else, you know what the cost is? The cost is my life. The cost is your soul. And I am unwilling to pay that anymore. And so I feel very passionate about this, but I'm like, people sometimes are like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll look at it later. And I'm like, do you know that you're paying for this with your soul, with your life force energy? When you are not in alignment, when you're not following what is actually meant for you, like you came here with a purpose, with a message, with something to offer this world. And the universe, everything is conspiring to help you, to share with you, to help you grow on your path. Like you with the shadow, when we are turning our back of pushing it away and pushing it away, it's like the cost of it is the ground you stand on. You've been paying for this. You've been paying for your small life with your life force energy. You can choose something else. And the gifts, my goddess, the gifts that pour into your life, and I know you've experienced this firsthand as well, like the gifts that pour into your life when you decide to make a choice towards what is actually for you, towards pleasure, towards joy, towards God.
Welcome to the Shadow Mike podcast and YouTube channel, which aims to provide you with language, tools, and guidance in your journey towards personal and relational wholeness. We'll discuss topics ranging from psychology, spirituality, leadership, sexuality, and more. My name is Michael, and I'll be your guide for stimulating musings and host for insightful interviews with thought leaders, practitioners, and experts who have a thing or two to share about living an integrated and meaning-making life. Whether you're looking to deepen your connection with your interior world, overcome challenges in your relationships, or expand your psychosomatic horizons with fresh perspectives and paradigms, the Shadow Mike podcast and YouTube channel offers a safe, playful, yet challenging space for dialogue and introspection. It is all a gift, so let's go enjoy it together. Welcome back to the Shadow Mike podcast and YouTube channel. I have the absolute delight and, shall I say, pleasure in introducing my good friend, Goddess Brittney King. She is a pleasure priestess and honestly, the witchiest priest, pastor, healer I've ever met. Like, I feel like our first encounter together, you like pulled out a very, very dark, swirling energy in me and caused me to have a sinus infection that came after that helped me to release some significant emotional baggage. So I think you're pretty powerful, and I'm excited for my listeners to get to know you a bit.
Thank you so much for having me in the space on the pod. It's an honor. I mean, ever since we met, since God brought us together, it has been just fireworks and ahas and profound epiphanies. And I'm just so grateful to call you a brother in life.
Oh, yeah. You were, I mean, I'll just share with the listeners real quick. You and your wife, Lisette, I mean, I can't really name two people who've been more influential in my adult life. And the two of you were both in an icon that was hanging in my apartment for years. Like there's this icon, if anyone's familiar with Kelly Lattimore, she kind of reinterprets icons or key figures and puts them into this kind of artistic medium. And one of them is Rublev's Trinity, where like the three persons of the Trinity sit around a table, and her interpretation of that is like these three queer women sitting around a table. And like, I shit you not, two of them look exactly like you and Lisette. And I'm like, geez, I'm on my path. Like, I can't deny that y'all are in my life after literally hanging on my wall for years.
I can't deny it. No, when you showed me that picture, I had a soul recognition of myself and was like, oh my God, like that's me. Yeah.
Oh.
So happy that we got to connect in the 3D.
Yes. So, Britt, will you share a bit about your story? It's one thing to experience pleasure by happenstance. It's another thing to become a facilitator and someone who's devoted to leading others into their own pleasure. You've done that work yourself, clearly. So can you talk a bit about your journey, your story, and this work around pleasure and sexuality into your experience?
Yeah. Well, I'm goddess Brittney and I'm a pleasure priestess. And that was not how I used to show up, how I presented myself, or how I shared about who I was. I used to feel so numb, so disconnected from myself, out of my body, constantly in fear, in scarcity, in lack, in judgment, in shame. So much shame about who I was, that I was wrong, and that I'm doing something wrong at all times. And it was really, here's like a little story to tell you kind of how this all began. So it was in the 90s, and I was at a family reunion, and TLC's Creep was very popular on the radio. Okay, this is different than
Oh,
Radiohead Creep, different than Radiohead. They're both important
okay.
songs for different times. But TLC, they had like these big fans in silky pajamas in the video, and me and my sister were like, we are going to dance to that song. Like, we're so excited. So our family puts on this talent show. We do this dance, and I'm so happy. I'm wearing my favorite hot pink mini skirt and like light up shoes. And I'm like 7 or 8, and we're dancing and we're whipping our hips and throwing our hair. And we're just like, I just remember feeling so alive, so turned on, so in my pleasure, so jubilant. And I remember there were like lights and applause, and it was so exciting until I looked over at my dad, the minister, who was very upset. And there was shaming and yelling and judging and hitting and all these things. And I just remember after that experience walking around and seeing other adults or other people's eyes and just feeling like this pity coming from them of like, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have done like this. And it was those same people who were so excited for us were just holding that vibration of, yeah, he's right. What you did was wrong. And what I took from that experience was that my pleasure was not mine. It didn't belong to me. It was in defiance of God, and that I was unsafe to be in pleasure in my body. And I carried that story with me for years and years and years. And it manifested as disordered eating. It manifested as depression. It manifested as anxiety. It manifested as me numbing with drugs, with weed, with alcohol, with food. And I just was so disconnected from myself and from my body, and in this constant state of, I'm wrong and it's not safe. It's not allowed. Like, that's just not for me. And I'm not that kind of person. I don't get to experience that. And I know I'm not alone in that life experience.
I mean, honestly, Britt, the work of just even acknowledging that there's a belief that sexuality, that pleasure is not for you, that it's an energetic frequency that simply has passed you by. There isn't a way to connect to it. And I mean, obviously it's rooted in kind of these earlier memories, and then those become the templates that you engage sexuality and pleasure. Can you, like, for someone who's listening, who hears you talk about sexuality and pleasure, who is in a relational dynamic where it's just kind of dead, for someone who is older, who feels like, well, I kind of missed my opportunity, or that's something that's for an earlier time, it's not for me now. Can you talk a little bit about, like, what is available to people as far as their own embracing their own sexuality, their own relationship with pleasure, regardless of circumstances?
Yes. Well, first, I just want to start off with, like, if you are experiencing that disconnection, that separation, like, I see you and I hear you, and I want you to know you are not alone. And it is never too late to have a new experience. If you are alive, if you are breathing, it is not too late for you to change what you're experiencing in life. You just have to decide that you want to change. And the universe gives us opportunities time and time again to look at these hurts, to look at these wounds. And so my spiritual awakening was really wrapped in a nutshell of some really deep trauma. If I can share it, I'll just give a trigger warning. I won't go deep into it, but what my initiation was a rape. And it was an experience that shook me out of my body. And while I was outside of my body, I felt this presence that was like, you can keep living life the way you're doing, disassociating, numbing, not being present in your body. And it can lead towards death, which is where this situation might be leading, or you can choose to live. What do you choose? What do you choose? And in that moment, I started feeling moisture on my face. And I remember feeling this confusion because I was like, I'm inside. It can't be raining inside. Where is this moisture coming from? And I go, oh my God, I'm crying. And I go, my body is trying to help me get back inside of her and let me know, hey, what's going on is not okay. You can get yourself out of it. You have to be in your body to get yourself out of this situation. That's going to be what's required. And so that initiation, I was able to get back into my body. I was able to get myself out of that situation. And I sat with that choice. I can keep living my life the way I have been, disconnected, afraid of pleasure, afraid to be in my body, or I can choose a different path. And I chose to lean into the unknown. I chose to get curious and discover like, well, what else is possible for me? And that is when pleasure showed up on my path.
Okay. Yeah, that big decision to just say yes to whatever it is, like you don't know what will unfold, you don't know where this is going to go, but if you feel a desire, if you feel a pull, it's for you, right? You mentioned fear of pleasure. I mean, purity culture is kind of ubiquitous. People sometimes know it by name. Yeah. But there's a whole host of people who grew up impacted by the purity culture movement, and they don't even really know how deep that went. I mean, this idea that essentially anything that was sexuality or sexually adjacent was off limits. Can you talk about the fear of pleasure and how that you've seen that impact people and keep them from embracing this part of their life?
Yeah. Purity culture, and for those who don't know, it's kind of, I don't know if you call it like a movement, indoctrination, a philosophy.
Yeah, a lack of movement.
A lack of movement that indoctrinate and taught children that your body is meant for God and for a husband, particularly focused towards girls. Sex is meant for your husband and for God, and anything related to it is off limits to you. And there's a lot of indoctrination, and it goes in from very, very mild to very, very deep and very specific around maybe your body being dirty, touching yourself being wrong, all guilt, shame, all these different things. And those who were not even raised in the church, you can still have the effects of it because it expanded outside of the church into just the general cultural narrative of, have anybody heard of like being a good girl and what it means to be a good girl? You have to have your knees closed. You have to, you don't want to be one of the fast girls if you're accused of maybe being flirtatious with a boy or a man or leading him on. All of this is rooted in purity culture, in saying that in some way your desires, your connection to pleasure, your connection to sexual energy is wrong, is bad, is not for you. And like you need to shut it down immediately. And that can be so disheartening and really stifling. And so I was raised in Los Angeles. My dad is a minister at Baptist church, and I was also growing up in California. So I had a very different Baptist experience than maybe a Baptist church in the South. So like in my church, they did not use explicit language about purity culture. And there was very much this narrative about what it means to be a good girl, what it means to be a good Christian, and what isn't it. I remember there was this one Sunday at church, and I remember just being confused because a woman came to the church and she was dressed provocatively and she wanted to be at church. And lots of people were very upset that this person was here, that this woman was here, that she was dressed this way, and they were trying to kick her out of church. And I remember sitting with that dichotomy of, because again, I'm a young kid, I'm like, every day people are talking about loving each other the way Jesus does and showing up for each other and welcoming each other. And yet this woman who's not dressed in the way that we're dressed, and like, I didn't know like prostitute or hook, I didn't know any of these terms. I just knew she was dressed differently and people were upset about it, you know? And they're like forcibly trying to move her out of the church. And so it's this thing that separates one from their body and creates this space where you're feeling like me being connected to my body is somehow wrong. God is upset with me and I will be judged for this. And it just really can create a lot of obstacles around pleasure, around shame, because then all of a sudden you get married, if you get married, because you don't want to have sex or whatever. And then, but you have all of these stories of this is wrong and bad. And it's supposed to flip on and off like a light switch. And I don't know about you, but like, that's just not how bodies work. If you've been in 14, 16, 18, 20 years of messaging telling you that it is shameful, that it is sinful, and that it is wrong to touch your body, that it is wrong to be in pleasure. And then all of a sudden one day you have a ceremony and you're supposed to be, you know, in a sex swing or just even having an orgasm. It can be really confusing and people don't know how to move through that, how to move past it. And I know for myself, it took some time to peel away the levels of conditioning and the insidiousness because I didn't even know how harshly I was judging myself. And as a California girl, like I thought I was pretty out there until I really started doing the deeper work and realizing how much I wasn't, how much fearful I was to be in pleasure, that I was performing sex. I was performing being a good girlfriend. I was performing heteronormativity because that was it. I was performing so much of my life because being in actual pleasure, no, that's dangerous. I should be and I should pretend so that I can fit in a secular society, but deep down, something about me feels like I'm wrong.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Like the unnameable feeling that you're bad. Like everything's bad. Something's wrong. The term I've been using actually quite a bit is this sense that I had to be very vigilant, but I had to self-report. I had to self-report because my God image already knew everything that was happening inside of me. So like I had to not only self-report the things I did, but the things I thought about doing. And then you couple that with when I think about some of my most profound spiritual experiences, they came on the heels of this like confession of some kind of sexual sin. And so if you think about the template that creates, if your connection with the divine gets animated by you releasing, confessing things that are just part of being human, but they got labeled as sins, you have to release your sexuality in order to connect with the divine, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so there is, like you said, a dichotomy that gets created around spirituality and sexuality. And spirituality wasn't something that is just part of being human either. Spirituality was a survival mechanism. I mean, you had to stay connected to God, not because that's like the best way to live, but because like that's the only way to not burn forever or to die. So of course you will sacrifice your sexuality and all of the nuances and everything involved in that. I mean, I think this is a huge part of my work is that sexuality is not just an add-on service to your life subscription, right? Like it's like a core part of being human. It's not, it's the core package. You know, we're talking basic, essential. This is your life package, just like with commercials. You still, you're going to have sexuality. So can you like, I don't even know what to say. Can you elevate sexuality to its proper place in the human experience?
Yeah. Well, just to like, even pull the curtain back deeper into what you said about like those two pillars of like sexuality and spirituality, there's very separate. They're held in these separate spaces. and they don't have to be. And there's also this layer of religion being put over spirituality. So like separating spiritual, your connection to the divine, which we all have a connection if you choose it, then religion, which can be the organization and sometimes creating rules around how you are allowed to connect to spirit, and then your sexuality. So my experience growing up was I had a very tumultuous relationship with my father. My father represented the church because he was the minister and all the things.
Yeah.
And he had two families. He had a secret family and a secret church. And that all came out explosively one Sunday. And it was very traumatizing. And I just remember because it was in my teens, after that experience, I was like, I'm done with God. I'm done with the church. I'm done with church people. All of it is separate, and I'm just turning myself away from it. Then once I started having my spiritual awakening post this rape, I started sinking deeper into pleasure practices. It led me to pole dancing. It led me to exploring. And the more I started to explore in the realm of pleasure, the more I experienced God. The more I started to experience connection with source, connection with spirit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need this building, this person to be my connection to God, to be my connection to source. I can connect with God anytime I want to. And I am finding this connection through pleasure. When I'm in my pleasure, it is actually opening the space for me to get a direct access point to God, to the divine. And so it was honestly life-changing, life-altering, because I was like, this is different than anything I was taught or anything I had come to know. And I felt so compelled to continue to explore it because I was like, do other people know about this? Like, how has this been kept from us for so long to understand, like, oh my gosh, I have a direct access to God, and it is through my sexuality, because that is the space of creation energy. That is the space of the unknown. That is the space of literal miracles. Talk about if you were thinking about the one of the forms of creating a new life, you're literally calling a soul in from the other dimension through a portal into this reality. That is profound. That is God. That is life force energy. And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you mentioning this on another podcast, and maybe you were being interviewed. I listened to how you shared about a life coming through a woman, like through her body into the world.
Yeah.
Like it's not like that there's like a taken for granted here, but it's like a misplaced sense of like, who's doing that? I mean, the projection of all the positive stuff that is part of what it just means to be human, the projection onto like this God image is pretty ubiquitous. Like we're disconnected from our own power, our own creativity. And once you disconnect from your power and creativity, then you can disconnect very easily from like what you want, what you desire. And sexuality becomes such a distant afterthought because, I mean, I can tell you from my own experience, I was disconnected from what I wanted to the extent that I didn't even know, like, I couldn't even tell you what it was to want something, like what it actually felt like. So then to go all the way to this like supercharged energy of sexuality was a distant idea.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who are stuck right now, they're stuck in this dichotomy, this belief that sexuality and spirituality are inherently separate. What's the little inlet? What's the way forward for them to start practicing or relating or creating a resonance with their sexuality, right? I mean,
Yes.
it'd be hard to just like go to a sex club, and that probably wouldn't be ideal for most people,
No.
right?
Right. We gotta take baby steps. Not everybody's ready to just jump into the deep end. And so we honor and respect that. And so the first thing is connecting with your body. So often we can live so disconnected from our body, and like we, especially those who live in America, live in a society that very much elevates and praises like your mental field. Be smart, be in your head, da 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 da. Things that are like, it's like, oh, somatics, things of the body, that's junk. Like, so for a lot of people, it's really foreign to actually know what it's like to be in your body. So we can just take a moment. If you're driving, you can either pull your car over or come back to this later. But I'm going to invite you to just, if you're sitting, to close your eyes for just a moment. We're going to inhale in through our nose, exhale out through our mouths, allowing your body to slow breathing in, exhaling out, letting there be sound. And I want your hands to find their way onto your body. Maybe it's your lap, your arms, your belly, wherever feels good to you. And just feel the weight of your hands touching your body. Is there warmth? Is there coolness? Maybe you feel the texture of the fabric of your clothes or the warmth of your skin. Just tuning into what your fingertips are feeling. Maybe allowing them to just move ever so slightly and noticing that sensation. Are your fingertips light or heavy? Is the movement gentle or firm? Allowing the space of curiosity, because there's no one way to do this. And just noticing what you feel. Letting your hands settle and feeling into your toes. Maybe allowing your toes to push against the ground, the chair. Feeling them wiggle. Allowing yourself to just feel your body. Thanking your body for this moment, this presence. And as it feels good, start to slowly open your eyes. Maybe take in the room around you. Just noticing where you are. Yeah. We start there. We start slow. Just allowing ourselves to feel our bodies. It is life-changing. So often we have a task list of 1,000 things. There's 18 screens going. Children are talking to us. You're trying to be nice. You're trying to eat enough protein, all the things. And we forget that we're actually in a body. So step one would be slowing down to connect with your body. I have a gift. We put it in the show notes. I have a gift of a pleasure activating ritual. It's very similar to this, what I just guided you through. And you could do it anytime, anywhere. It's just 10 minutes. It's an audio meditation that supports you in connecting with your body. So first, we start to connect with our body and just start to notice what we feel. 2, we start to allow ourselves to build safety and trust with our bodies. Safety and trust. Starting to let yourself know of like, I am safe to feel. I'm a big fan of hand on your heart, just feeling, I am safe to feel. I am safe to be in this body. I am safe to see. I am safe to touch. I am safe to feel what it feels like to exist in this body. For so many of us, it didn't feel safe. I was not living in my body because it did not feel safe to do so. It did not feel safe to do so. So connecting with safety, connecting with your body, those are the first 2 steps to start to begin this journey, and then starting to open yourself up to pleasure. Pleasure is available to you in any moment if you choose to open yourself up to it. Maybe it's the pleasure of the sun on your face, or the pleasure of sitting next to a crackling fire in the fall. the pleasure of feeling the grass underneath your toes. Like there's the pleasure of like I'm a big tea girly, a really
Mm,
delicious chai.
mm,
That's my fave.
mm. Yeah.
There's pleasure around you. And we get the opportunity to slow down to feel it. It asks you to slow down and be present. And I invite you to suck the marrow out of every moment.
Wow. 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 Thank you. I'll just work my way back here because there at the end, normalizing pleasure as something that is always around you. It is literally the water, the air we're moving through is surrounded by that. It's surrounded by moments where we can actually feel the goodness. I'm thinking even this morning, I was at a coffee shop and I just felt so aligned with the work I was doing. And this has been a practice working with Lisette, in fact, around pausing and feeling that gratitude rise up
Yeah.
and expressing it and even asking for more of it rather than just saying, thank you for what you gave me. I hope you don't take it away, God. But like actually asking for more of that. There is something that comes up for me around pleasure capacity and how that has to be built. You can't, if pleasure of any kind has basically been a threat, it's kept you from being in your body because anytime something good comes in, it's like, oh shit, that means something bad is going to happen to me. If that has been your story, then building a relationship, a correspondence with pleasure takes time and you are essentially growing your capacity. It's like lung capacity. You can't just suddenly go run a marathon if you've not been training. Like you have to build a certain correspondence, not because it's not already in you, but because that it will overwhelm your nervous system to have so much at one time, right? It will feel threatening. So can you talk a little bit about building your correspondence, building this relationship with pleasure over time? And like, what do you see, particularly women, go through as they develop that?
Yeah. So the first thing is this is the part that my wife and we both teach about this, but our unconscious mind gets involved. And so our unconscious mind is the majority of our brain. It pumps your blood for you. It grows your hair for you. It digests your food for you. And it runs your thoughts, And so its two main jobs above anything else. It has a host, but its two main jobs are to keep you safe and to make you right. Keep you safe and to make you right. So looking at safety, like you brought up, if you have experienced a lifetime where pleasure was not safe, then your unconscious mind has coded it as this is not safe. And when your unconscious mind has coded it as not safe, it decides, okay, what we have survived is survivable. So anything that you've survived has become survivable. Abuse, trauma, neglect, any of these things, anger, rage, all these things, you go, oh, I know how to survive that. So that's survivable. Pleasure, I don't know what that's like. That's in the unknown. We've decided that's unsafe. And my question for you is when these thoughts come up, if you have these experiences, like, well, start asking yourself questions. Who says it's unsafe? How specifically will it be unsafe? Why do I believe that this will be unsafe? And start to ask yourself these deeper questions so we can start to get to the root of when did I decide? When did I learn that pleasure was unsafe? Because like in my experience, like I shared, I was a kid. I was just doing a dance. I was having fun. My father had a reaction that was violent. And from that instance, I decided that my pleasure was dangerous and that it was unsafe. I made that decision based on the experience that I did, but I could have made a different decision. I have chosen, as I've continued to do my own work, to make new decisions about what I believe in a way that supports me having empowerment over my choice, agency over my body. So my question for you is, when did you decide that pleasure was dangerous? When did you decide that it wasn't for you? And let's start to look into that to find what are the programs running, what are the stories running, And ask yourself, is that ultimately true? Is that true? Because if for something to be true for you, it has to be true for everyone. For it to be a universal truth, it has to be true for us all, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so sometimes we forget that. We'll be like, oh, that's just the way money works. And it's like, well, it doesn't work that way for that person. The pleasure is dangerous. It's like, well, those people are having pleasure and they seem to be quite safe and quite happy. So it can't be only true for you and not true for other people. So asking yourself, what have I decided about myself or the world that is creating this reality that's making this true for me? Like this is I'm giving you guys I feel like anybody who's listening to your podcast is an advanced,
Yeah.
is an advanced soul who's ready to hear this message. And like, this is when it can really help to have a space holder to guide you through these kinds of spaces, because we don't know what we don't know. You know, I didn't know that I had these stories running about pleasure. I didn't know that I was scared. I didn't know that I was performing sex. I was just like, no, this is what you do. This is what relationships are. I didn't know that I was performing heteronormativity because I didn't know I was queer. That was the level of disconnection. I did not know I was queer. I did not know I was a witch. I did not know I had power. Like, I was disconnected from myself in such a way that all of that stuff was foreign for me. And so if you're feeling like at the beginning stages of like, I'm curious, I feel something in this conversation for me, and I just don't even know. Like, I invite you to listen to my podcast, subscribe to my email list. We have these conversations. And if you want mentorship, that's available. But find yourself support to help you navigate these spaces, because we can't always see when we're inside the box. You know, when we're inside the paradigm of all that we know, we don't know any different. But, you know, so the thing that I've noticed that for myself and many of us, we have like a tickle,
Mm-hmm.
a twinge, something that goes, I feel like there's more. I think that's different. Like the way I felt in the church when I saw that woman getting kicked out, it was just like, I don't know what's going on. I know something's just not quite right. If you're feeling that ping of just be like, I understand I was told this for 20 years. Something about it just, it's not adding up. It's just
Yeah.
not making sense.
Yeah. The kind of like, it just keeps coming back to like when you have that experience of like, oh, there's something not right. I need to look into this more. Perhaps you're even at a place where it's like, I know I need support. I know that I can't do this alone. That won't go away.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in shadow work, we often say like your shadow wants to be seen. It wants to be experienced, and it will be experienced. And that can be a really powerful and beautiful experience that you step into. It will cost you the previous belief system, you know, the ground that you stood on. It will cost you that, but you'll stand on something far higher.
Yes.
But not giving yourself to that, over time, it will cost you something that you don't want it to cost you, because like life is bent towards wholeness. Life is bent towards integration. And when you find yourself drawn to something that feels like it's not you, it's not for you, that's a moment you're like, okay, it's for you. If it's not for you and you feel an energetic charge around it, it's for you.
Yes.
And it's ready. It's ready for you. Can you share?
Pause you?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Just let's go into that. I had that moment. So the month after my rape, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It was a rare form of lung cancer. And they were like, okay, this is what it is. She's going to be entering a death process. And I had never had any kind of spiritual experiences before, but I was sitting next to her and her lungs started talking to me. And I felt the energy, and it was like, you have to choose to live. You have to choose joy. What do you choose? And I sat there feeling with, okay, I'm getting the same message again. And now my mom is entering her death process. And the unsaid things, the things that she had held on to and shoved down and for later, it's all coming to a head and materializing in her body. And it's those moments where I realized, I was like, I have to do something different. I have to do something different, because me pretending to be someone else, you know what the cost is? The cost is my life. The cost is your soul. And I am willing to pay that anymore. And so I feel very passionate about this, but I'm like, people sometimes are like, oh, I'll do it later. I'll look at it later. And I'm like, do you know that you're paying for this with your soul, with your life force energy? When you are not in alignment, when you are not following what is actually meant for you, like you came here with a purpose, with a message, with something to offer this world. And the universe, everything is conspiring to help you, to share with you, to help you grow on your path. Like you with the shadow, when we are turning our back of pushing it away and pushing it away, it's like the cost of it is the ground you stand on. You've been paying for this. You've been paying for your small life with your life force energy. You can choose something else. And the gifts, my goddess, the gifts that pour into your life, and I know you've experienced this firsthand as well, like the gifts that pour into your life when you decide to make a choice towards what is actually for you, towards pleasure, towards joy, towards God.
Oh, I mean, if you're listening and you're like, well, how am I going to take Brittney's word for it? No, like, just go like read Jesus for like a half a second. Like, the whole thing is like, if you want to keep your life, you must lose it. If if you want to follow me, take up your cross. If, a grain of wheat, when it falls, it must die. Otherwise, like, it remains alone, right? But if it dies, it produces like abundance. And here's the thing, like, that all of those verses and how they got metabolized into our bodies, everything that it produced was for someone else. It was for the divine being, that essentially we were building up some kind of like banking system that would like save us in the end to some degree. And the reality is that was all metaphor. What you're doing is you are building up. Like, if you allow yourself to die in this state of scarcity, self-protection, and you open yourself up to the abundance that you don't quite know, but you just intuitively know it. Actually, I'll challenge that. You do know.
Yeah.
Like, you do know. Not knowing is part of the defense mechanism. You know that there is something more for you, and you have no idea how it will unfold. I can tell you, I can vouch for the fact that it will be abundantly, exceedingly, beyond measure, all you can ask or imagine. I think that's the Bible verse. I think I nailed that.
Yeah, you did. I feel like often I've seen my clients and people who are interested in my work or things like that, the hiccup, the stone that they get their foot caught on is, okay, but it's going to cost me something, and all I can see is what it's going to cost me.
Yep.
All I can see is what it's going to cost me. I was scared to leave everything that I knew that was safe. I was scared to make a different choice. But all we're seeing is what we think we're going to lose. And when we take our focus from what we think we're going to lose and switch it to, but what is it that I might gain? Like you said, it's above, it's beyond, it's so much more abundant, it's so much more prosperous, it's bigger than you could even conceive what the gains are. And we get this opportunity to switch our focus. We get this opportunity to remind ourselves and to remind each other. It's like, I know you think losing this is going to be the worst thing. Like, I love my mother. I'm so grateful that she was my mother, and losing her was hard. Yes. And the gifts that I got through her death process, the gifts that she continues to give me, the lessons that she continues to teach me from the other side, they're above and beyond anything that I could have ever imagined. I remember the summer after she passed, I was sitting looking at this beautiful sunset, and the colors were just unimaginable. And I just felt her energy and her presence there so intensely. And there was a bird making a figure 8 in the sky, and I just felt her there. And so I started talking to her, and I was just like, why did you have to leave? And it just came in clear as bell. And it was like, to teach you. And I was just like, okay. And like, the lessons have just been quantum. I could not have predicted how much closer of a relationship I would have with her not being here in the 3D. I could not have predicted the lessons and the wisdom and who I've been able to become on the other side of losing her. And so I say it with so much reverence and so like anyone who's like on the stone of like, but I think I'm going to lose it. And it's like, I understand. And like God said, it's like, put that down. I have something better for you. I have something better for you.
Oh, it's impossible to filter what you're saying through what I call the common Christian myth, the framework that kind of had a rebuttal to everything, right? Anytime you wanted something, anytime that there was a desire, it still always has a way to interpret that as being bad. Like anything that's good is inherently bad. Yes, you can keep that filter. That's a choice. And the thing is our experience is what will guide us. Like creating our experience, noticing our experience, what's happening in our bodies is the wisdom, and your body knows what you need. And if you can tap in, like you were saying, like if you can feel into your body and notice, am I feeling just like absolutely tight and blocked and weighted down? Is there something that elevates me as I think about what's possible? Giving myself, here's the thing, when you give yourself to an initiation of any kind, and I think this is what you do. I think you mentioned it on your website, actually. Like
I do initiations.
So I want you to talk about the goddess experience in a moment, because it is not a retreat. It's not just a little vacay for your mental health. We're talking about an initiation into a far deeper, richer, and more abundant life. So could you talk a bit about, I mean, you do a lot of things, but this goddess experience coming up in January, can you tell everyone about it?
Yes, I'm so honored to share about it. The goddess experience, like you shared, it is an initiation, and it's an initiation that I have walked, you know. I became goddess Brittney King. That was just not my everyday. And it was a spiritual initiation from source to remind me, to remind others, that God lives within you. And I am owning that God lives in this temple. And I am a reminder that God lives in your temple. And so the goddess experience, it is more than just a retreat. It's an initiation into your own divinity. We go to literally holy land, sacred land with healing water. It is this beautiful luxury eco center in Puerto Vallarta. We rent out the whole thing. We are nourishing you from head to toe with high vibration food, a spa that has shamans of different lineages coming to pour love into your body, myself and my incredible wife, Lisette, co-facilitating and leading you through this initiation so that you can be the woman that you've always meant to be. We think of it as like a crown straightening session. It's like you will not be the same person when you leave there. And women have told us time and time again how the frequency that we've been able to hold for them has completely transformed their life for the better. So if that is something that calls to you, it would be an honor to have you. Like Mike said, it's January 26th through 30th in Puerto Vallarta. It is an intimate container. There are only 4 spots left as of this recording, and it's just a container for 9 women. So if it is something that calls to you, we would be honored to have you.
And if people want to connect with you, like, okay, they're all in, they got questions, like they know this is for them. Can they connect with you one-on-one before? Like, do you do kind of info sessions or
Absolutely.
like one-on-one calls? Yeah,
I do. So this is because it is such a high frequency space. This is not an add to cart experience. So it is a by application, and we have a phone interview. And so for some people, they're like, that makes my butt pucker. I completely understand it. Like, it is just a conversation for me to get to know you and for you to get to know me and for us to get clear on what are your desires? What is it that you want to create? Where is it that you want to go? And are we the people to support you? And I will let you know transparently, if I am not the person to support you, I know the best space holders, healers, witches, reverends, all the people, and I will point you in the right direction of someone who can hold the space for you if this is not a fit. And if it is a fit, I will lovingly call you up and invite you to come with us, because when you say yes to your desires, your life is never the same. So we will put the invitation page in the show notes. Read about it, watch the videos, feel the transmission, hear what the other women are saying about their experiences, and schedule a call with me.
Yeah, I will say this for the listeners here. There are many doors to your authentic self, this goddess, this God, this divine center, and living that out. And depending on the door that is beckoning you, that is calling you, that's the door for you, because walking through that door is the one that opens the rest of them up. To be honest with you, my healing around value, worth, and love started with actual money wounds and working on that. Like, that was the door. And once I walked through, I realized it led to the same room that the rejection and abandonment that I carried in my life. In some ways, money was the back door into that healing. And for so many, sexuality will be that back door. Sexuality, pleasure will be the door through which you can walk into that opens you up to the fullness of who you are and helps you to heal all the intricacies rather than trying to knock down the same old door over and over and over again. Like, this may be an invitation to step into something that your ego hasn't quite sorted out yet, that your unconscious is like able to surface, because it's so much more to explore and you've not figured it out yet. And that's why you, like, when I first met you, Brittney, you introduced yourself as Goddess Brittney King. And I knew the mechanism of holding that title, that you are welcoming people to project their own goddess onto you so that they can see it, so that they can own it back, because you're able to hold that because you know who you are. You've done that work. You've owned that in yourself, and you're able to hold up a mirror for others. And anyone who's wanting to step into this work, any woman that is like, yeah, this is for me, you're going to step into a container that's literally going to not only reflect back who you are, but, that straightening of the crown, that like LeBron, like shrug of shoulders, like, okay, now we're going, like, I'm ready. You can run through a fucking wall with that energy. And I know that's what you're providing. I honestly, like, when are you going to do this for men? Like, let's do it.
It is coming soon. It is coming soon. It is in the pipeline. Really, as many of our brothers have reached out to us and have said, yo, and we are like, yes, we are honored to hold the space for you too. And it is in the works. And for my goddesses, yes, like, I so appreciate what you said about the back door, because in my mind, I didn't know I had a quote unquote problem with pleasure. I didn't know that. What I knew was I was unhappy. What I knew was I had done everything that people said would make me successful and happy, and I was miserable. I was disconnected. And women who come to me and work with me, they're like, I don't know what it is, but there's lots of things in these different areas, and I just feel like you're the one who helped me. And the results that people come back with, it's just like, oh, I was able to have like a 60% raise in my job, or I met the love of my life, or I was able to set boundaries with my family, or like women come back to us and they're like, it's been years and I'm still unfolding the magic and getting the messages from what the work that we did together. And so, like, it's an honor. We hold the space, and it comes with 2 months of integration to help you create it in your own life. So it is more than just the week. It is basically a 3-month container where we are holding space for you. Like, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm glad you brought that back into this, because the integration work is core. I mean, you can have anyone listening who's been in the Christian world, or especially the Pentecostal world. It's like, yeah, you know what a retreat is, you know what a tent meeting is, and these big experiences, but the integration work of taking the learning that your body now holds and metabolizing it so that it becomes the new belief, the new operating system is what I like to call it. It's like the new operating system. You're not operating from the old system. It's a new one that now, from a perspective of pleasure is for me, I can create my reality based on that. Like, I'm now looking for pleasurable experiences, and I'm now valuing my own pleasure. That becomes the generator for all sense of reality.
It really, one last tidbit. One of my dear clients, Terry, shared with me, a dream on her heart. When she had first signed up for the retreat, she had recently been let go from her job. She's like, I'm later in life in my years. Like, I'm just not sure what's going to happen. And she had a dream in her heart. She was like, I know I want to teach yoga, but I'm terrified. I've had all these other jobs and done all these other things. She overcame any limitation and she was like, this is a yes for me. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to lean into the unknown, unemployed, all the things. I'm going to say yes to this retreat. She said yes. And just last week, I got to take a yoga class from her at a studio that she's now a co-owner of. Co-owner of a yoga studio. In a year, she was able to create a completely different reality for herself that was connected to her dream, connected to her soul. Just every day I feel so much gratitude that this is the work that I get to do and I get to hold space for women in this way because it's magic every day.
Like if you had shared that with me 8-9 months ago, it would have literally gone in one ear and out the other. It would have gone over my head. So if you're listening and that went over your head because it just feels like, well, that was her, yeah, when lightning strikes, it strikes somewhere, not on me. But like the reality for me is it was not even a calendar year ago that I probably was uttering the statement, money is not something I'm going to be able to heal in this lifetime. Like, it was within the last calendar year that was how I viewed money. My best month was like maybe $4,000 before I started this work. This work meaning Huna, the magic that you reference that you and Lisette both do. And I am now in my second consecutive 5-figure month. 8 months ago is when I started that.
Yeah.
And now here I am. And let me just say this, like, the money is just, it's what you believe it is, right? Money is what you believe it is. What I can say is that I actually feel like I'm living my life. I am aligned. I'm doing what I love. And that's the correspondence that we talked about. Like you're corresponding with the universe that is all around you, that's ready to like come toward you and give to you all that abundance. It's just a matter of regulating your body to be able to receive that. And I mean, that's what you're going to do. That's the quantum leap that people will make. Anyone listening to this, if you step into this container, there's a quantum leap that you do in that space to heal like years worth of baggage and be a completely different person. I mean, completely different relational energy towards your sexuality and pleasure in a very short amount of time. Maybe you could say that more eloquently, but I'm sure it was the case.
Yes, everything you said. Yes, everything you said. Yes. And we, anything that's possible for someone else, it can be possible for you. It's like the 4-minute mile. Everyone thought it was impossible until one person did it. And then all of a sudden there was a surge of people doing it. And so, like you said, it's like lightning has to strike somewhere. It's like, no, it can happen everywhere. It can happen everywhere. My wife and I are proof that miracles exist. We have a roster full of clients where miracles are happening to them every day. We have a community that miracles are happening to them every day. And so all you have to do is say yes. If you decide, yes, I would like this life for me, you don't have to know how. You just have to say yes. We fucking got you.
Oh, well, Britt, any last lingering things you're like, I want to make sure I say this? Is there anything that you just like some wisdom, like just some mic drop shit that just like, what do you want to say?
I would just say pleasure is a portal to your power. Your power is through pleasure. And when we tap into our pleasure, it taps us into that space of creation energy. And when you remember that you are the creator, catch it, Bible, I am the creator. You are the creator. You can create change in your life. That is what I must stand for. That is what I'm here to remind you of. You're the creator of your life. Pleasure is one way to be in that resonance, to be in that vibration, to be in that space of infinite creation.
Thank you so much for doing this work, for aligning yourself with what is most authentic in you, because it's just rare to be able to find. someone who holds this kind of space. And thank you for doing this work. Thank you for holding this initiatory space. And if you're interested in connecting with Brittney, Goddess Brittney King, and especially the Goddess Experience coming up January 26th through 30th, all of that information and links will be in the show notes. You'll be able to connect with her seamlessly. And I am excited to see who takes advantage of this. Like, if this is for you, if you feel that nudge, go for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly been an honor and an incredible conversation.
Yeah. Thanks, Britt. Hi, Michael here. Hey, seriously, thank you for listening and engaging the Shadow Mike podcast and YouTube channel. I trust today's episode gave you something to reflect on or illuminated a new trailhead to your hidden life. If this episode resonated with you, you can subscribe, leave a comment or review, and share it with your people. This really helps spread the word and boosts our digital presence. Remember, growth isn't a straight line, and we're all figuring it out as we go. I'm grateful to be in this unfolding and excavating work with you. Until next time, be yourself. You've got a good self. And remember, it is all a gift.